Welcome to your journey of healing with the Healing Podcast, hosted by licensed clinician Monique Owe and co-host Dr. Amber Mohn.
Thank you for tuning into the Healing Podcast. I am your host, Monique Owe, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host here,
Dr. Amber Mohn.
Okay, so today's topic is overextending. When we talk about overextending, what we can say basically what that means is to overextend is basically stretching yourself too thin. You're basically committing to an excessive amount of commitments. Okay, that's overextending. And what I can say is an example of overextending, kind of what it looks like is, when you're spending more money than you really have, so you're overcommitting to spending, or you're overcommitting to appointments, like you're overbooking yourself, like personal appointments, like you have 4 doctor's appointments in one day. And that might be a lot to manage because you got to drive to each one and manage it, and traffic and things that can become stressful. And then maybe overextending yourself in your own business. Maybe you're overbooking appointments. And instead of giving yourself a break between appointments, you have back to back. So you're not even getting a break to breathe. So you're overextending yourself in your booking. What about Dr. Mohn? What are some other things that people do that looks like overextending? What does overextending look like, you think, Dr. Mohn?
Well, a lot of people overextend themselves at work, whether it's taking on too many tasks or, working, more, a whole lot of jobs, different jobs, going to school, coaching, doing extracurricular activities, and, taking care of your family. Those are some things,
Yeah, definitely. So, and we all want to do those things, right? I'm assuming you're doing those things because you want to be helpful and you want to do these things, but are you doing too much? Another thing that people do with overextending is they overextend with attending events. They want to attend that wedding, that birthday party, that celebration, that anniversary, because you don't say no. So overextending looks like you're not saying no. You're always saying yes. That's overextending, when you can't say no because you're worried about how that person may view you if you say no. So you end up committing and overcommitting, and here we are. That's what happens when you overextend, right? Which is stressful, Dr. Mohn. I mean, that's got to be stressful, Dr. Mohn, to balance all of that, to do this, to do that. What about, more than one job, Dr. Mohn? Now I know many people need more than one job. I understand, because financially right now things are high. So you need more than one job. But is that good for you? Are you overextending? Do you have 3 jobs? Are you also, then you have a side gig, and then you have your business you're trying to launch. So one of those things might need to be cut for you to balance it, right? But before we get into all that, we wanted to give you the overextending definition. It means to be committing to too many tasks. So Dr. Mohn, with all that we just said, which sounds pretty stressful, from what I can tell, it sounds pretty much like a stressful place to be in. What would you say, why do people do that? Why do we commit to that type of stress?
Well, you pretty much said one reason. You just didn't put a label on it, but it's people pleasing. You want to please others. So you'll, say yes and do, everything they ask because you want to, please them at the expense of you. You don't want to seem like you're incapable. When we talk about being at work and having all these different tasks that your supervisor gives you, you keep saying yes because, maybe you want to be promoted, or maybe, when that yearly bonus or raise comes, you want that top percent. And so you just take on these things so that it'll look like you can just handle it all. Some people just don't want to ask for help. They don't want to say, I can do everything. I can do it. Don't worry about it. I'll do it. And so you're taking on all these things, and you got yourself stressed out because you don't want to ask for help. And pride. Some people are just prideful, and they want to look a certain way, to people, maybe to the doubters or to the haters. Yeah, I'm taking all this stuff on and taking care of my kids. And, behind closed doors, you're barely hanging on. Those are some reasons.
Definitely some reasons, Dr. Mohn. You highlight some great points there. Sometimes people get caught up in saying yes so much they don't double check. Like they say yes before they even realize, oh, wait a minute, I couldn't even do that. Like maybe you don't have a calendar, so you say yes before checking your calendar. So you're kind of like, you do too many things on the fly. So because of that, you ended up committing to 3 events at the same time and not knowing how you're going to juggle it all. And then, one more thing, sometimes you have feelings of guilt. You feel like you owe a person, so you'll overextend yourself to please them. Dr. Mohn mentioned people pleasing, right? So like, let's say you did something to someone, you feel like you did, and you feel like you owe them. Because every time they ask you for a favor now, you feel like you have to do it. Because that one time, maybe you did fall short. Maybe you made a mistake, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you hurt them. So you feel like, all right, everything they need, I'm going to have to commit to. But then it results in those feelings of guilt have caused you to overextend, but then it might create a problem for yourself, right? Because while we know this is what overextending is, this is what it looks like, here's the issue with overextending, the effects of it, right? That level of stress. When you overextend and you do things like that, where you commit to people and things without thinking about it, task at work, Dr. Mohn mentioned you want to get promoted, right? So you'll do, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that project. I'll do this. I'll do that. Okay, no problem, because you want something, right? Well, let's talk about what can happen when you do that, right? So it can lead to resentment over the lack of reciprocity, because you feel like you keep doing stuff for others, but they don't do the same for you. So you'll start to resent people sometimes. You're going to burn out sometimes. You're going to have excessive amount of stress, right? It may lead to illness because you're so stressed out. Again, I think I mentioned in another episode, some of those illnesses, autoimmune disease, comes because we are overworked and overstressed, right? It can lead to you falling behind on your commitments, right? You won't follow through. You're going to fall short somewhere. You might forget, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot that I had to show up, or I can't show up today. It's going to lead you to fall through on commitments, you know? Dr. Mohn, can you think of another effect that can happen from overextending ourselves?
Oh, I think you gave some really good examples, Monique.
Okay. All right. So then, I have two more. Exhaustion, and you can have a mental break. You can have a mental breakdown because it just was too much that you were trying to juggle. So that's why overextending is not necessarily something that you should be doing. Trying to do everything, like Dr. Mohn said, being prideful and showing that I can do it all. Well, these are some negative consequences because of it. And then, even at work, guess what? The work one, I forgot. It can lead to you being fired because eventually you're going to miss a deadline. You're going to miss something. And then what'll happen, even though you overextended so much, you may get fired because they're going to feel like you didn't meet the main task that you had to meet. So just keep that in mind. So before we go into some healing tips to kind of help you to stop overextending yourself and overdoing it, let's go into it here in a segue here. And we're going to go in, you guessed it, go into the situation. Dr. Mohn, what is our situation for today?
All right. Thank you, Monique. So here's our situation. Dear Healing Podcast, I feel like I made the wrong move and now I think I'm stuck. What I mean by wrong move is literal move. I moved to a different state approximately 2 years ago. I thought I would like it. It was something I was planning to do for a while. The problem is nothing has gone according to plan and I am unhappy here. I want to move back where I am originally from, at least the state, maybe not the same city. My issue is I don't know how to best do this. I work remotely, so work is not an issue. It's just that moving is expensive and I also have an apartment lease. I just don't want any problems if I break my lease. I also don't want to feel like I'm jumping the gun and not giving this new state a chance. Should I move back to where I'm from or give this new state more time? If I do move, how can I best do this? All right. Well, thank you for writing in. Let me start by answering your question. So, you want what you want. If, you are not happy there, then you should, move to where you're happy. Living in the state where, you didn't tell me where you were from, but living in that state makes you happy. Well, then by all means, make plans to do that. And so the key word is plans. So you say that you have a lease. Cool. You can talk to, your leasing office and see, how much it would cost to break the lease. If it's something that's affordable, then you might want to do that. If it is not affordable, then you have, say, 6 months or 5 months, however much more time you have, on your lease, then make plans, save money, figure out, if you want to go back to the city you were in the state you love to live in, or, research other cities. Take that time to make plans as far as moving expenses and things of that nature to kind of make it, see what's affordable, whether you're going to get a U-Haul and drive to that state or city, or if you're able to pay for movers. So I would start now in making a plan and know that no matter what, at the end of your lease, then you're probably not going to be there, and you would have had, the length of your lease, the rest of your lease to plan, to make, good plans on how you're going to get there based on what's affordable to you. And the good thing is that, you're working remotely, so you can work anywhere. So you still have a job. So that would be my suggestion, Monique.
Okay. Thank you so much for writing into the Healing Podcast and sharing your situation. Yes, what Dr. Mohn said, great tips. So I'm just going to go in and jump in. Just let me normalize some things for you. It is okay to jump out there and then realize that this is not best for you. That is okay. Sometimes we make these decisions. We think a move is going to be great. But life happens and it doesn't turn out to be great. So it is okay to move back where you feel more comfortable. So like Dr. Mohn said, if back at your other state is where you'll feel most comfortable, then go ahead and do that. There is no shame there. You tried it, you moved, you experienced that new area. Now you realize the other area is fine. It doesn't mean you're a failure. Best doing this is, like I said, preparing as much as you can. Give your notice, maybe give them as much notice as possible. I think sometimes, 2 weeks is usually what's required, but depending on your job, maybe you want to give them 3 weeks or 4 weeks, depending on what type of work you do. Look and see what's available in that area where you used to live. Look at the apartments or the houses there, or maybe you have a friend that lives back at that place and they can let you stay with them temporarily or family unless you get you back on your feet. If you have to break a lease, consider the cost of breaking that lease. Talk to your leasing office about, hey, can I be let out of my lease? I have to move back or whatever, have a new job offer. They'll work with you. I think since your job is remote, it sounds like you might be able to just have a job. So that's not going to be an issue. So that takes care of the financial part. Just do some research. Like I said, what do you do? How can you best do it? Start to prepare. That's it. Start to prepare and go ahead and don't feel guilty about it. So I hope that has helped you. It is okay to move forward. It's okay to try something and then go back. It's okay. You tried it. And if you want to come back to another area or move to somewhere else, you can always do that in the future. So thank you for tuning into the Healing Podcast and writing and sharing your situation. For those that want to go in and write into the situation, please go to thehealingpodcast.com and hit the contact tab, and you can go ahead and fill out that form. Remember, this is confidential. As you see, we do not release your information, who you are, and we don't really know who you are. We just know that you're a listener and that you wanted some tips. So we thank you for writing in. And also, you can email support@thehealingpodcast.com. That's support@thehealingpodcast.com. Share your situation, and we'll try to get it read on one of our episodes. So I'm going to go ahead and mention our sponsor today. We got to always mention healingexpressionsllc.com. If you're in the Atlanta or Georgia area, please go ahead and go to healingexpressionsllc.com if you're looking for some therapeutic services and see if you can book an appointment. So going back into our topic of overextending and doing things where we're doing too many things at once, we just want to go into some healing tips to help that issue. So for example, we talked about the stress and things that can come from it. Some healing tips with overextending can be, for example, you got to start setting limits and setting boundaries for yourself. Realize when it's time to set that boundary with that person. That person can't, or whoever it is, the job or the people in your life, the events, they can't always get your time. So evaluate also, number 2, evaluate where and why are you spreading yourself so thin? Why do you keep saying yes? Why do you keep wanting to say yes and help everyone else, but you're probably not thinking about yourself? Why are you doing that? Learn to say no and be okay with saying no. Just be okay with it. It's no. That's the answer. No, I cannot do it. And that should be okay. Dr. Mohn, you have any other healing tips? What about you? Any healing tips about how a person can stop overextending themselves? Anything that you can think of?
Just remember to ask for help, and that, sometimes less is more. You can't do everything, all the time. So prioritize, cut back if, you feel like it's too much. That's my...
Okay. That's great. Dr. Mohn highlighted some great things, Ask for help, and also I want to say, be okay with people walking away. Some people may walk away because you didn't commit to their event. But guess what? If they walked away because you said no or you couldn't help them, you may want to ask, was that person genuinely a friend or a person that cares about you? If they walked away because you couldn't help in their event or help them do something, that's questionable there. So you may want to consider that, except that some people may walk away, but you don't need people like that who will walk away just because you said no. They should be understanding. You saying no one time should not cause anyone to walk away. Think of other things you can invest your time in versus overextending. Like maybe you need a vacation to help you relax so that you can reprocess some things and think about doing things differently. Also, maybe you need to realize you can't buy friendships or buy people's love. Sometimes we overextend because we want people's approval, as we said, the people pleasing, right? But you can't do it. You can't buy their affection or their time to you because eventually you will fall short. If you're doing these things to make them like you, eventually you're going to burn out and they're not going to like you anyway because it wasn't genuine. So be your genuine, authentic self, okay? So set limits, say no, be okay with no. Realize you don't have to always do everything yourself. Ask for help, as Dr. Mohn said as well. And, like I said, take a vacation, unplug, and realize overextending is not the way to go. Be your authentic self. And it is okay every now and again to be selfish. In this case, be selfish every now and again. So I do hope that this has been helpful to you and hope that you can go ahead and make a better decision regarding overextending yourself, okay? Make sure you put yourself first sometimes. Dr. Mohn, anything else regarding overextending that you would like to share?
No.
Okay. So look at me. I'm over here closing the episode, and I did not give you guys something to meditate on, something to carry with you for the rest of the day, your daily motivation. And let me give you something right now. So your daily motivation for today is the only people who get upset about you setting boundaries are the ones who are benefiting from you having none. With that said, I want to thank you for tuning into the Healing Podcast. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.